Joining us is Ashley Fair. She's the she has a title longer than most anybody I've met. Special Advisor for Constituent and Intergovernmental Affairs, Office of the Governor, Pennsylvania Department of State, Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs. But we're very excited to have Ashley here. She's been working closely with PA Med and has been working with us to answer our questions on the PAL system. We have a frequently asked questions that are online for you to access, and ongoing, she's going to work with us to answer those questions. What we're going to start out with is walking through a application. She's going to do that in real time with you. And then we're going to go on to some slides to answer some questions. After the call, we will send everybody a PDF of the slides because they are really chock full of information and they're too big to send the actual PowerPoint, but we will follow up by email with the slides. And also we'll be putting the recording on the pamedsoc.org website at some point next week, so that your colleague members can access it if they're missing it today, or you can go back and refer to it if you continue to have questions or issues. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to get started on an application. Thank you so much, Ashley. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I am actually going to do a walkthrough of a renewal. I'm going to log in like an external user. So this is what you would see if you log in to do a renewal application. So the first thing, your website would be pals.pa.gov. Mine's a little different because I'm going to log into the staging of the system, not the actual live system, because I don't want to cause any problems. So again, this is but you'll see the same thing. This is our PALS homepage. And you want to come over here to the side, right here to log in. And, oh, there, okay. Okay, I'm going to minimize this so it's not in your way. Okay, folks, so right here, you'll see where you're going to sign in with your existing username and password. And off to the right side there, you'll see if you don't have an account, if you got your user ID, if you forgot your password. All of these are very helpful. We get a lot of inquiries for people who forgot that information. And I'll just click just to show you, if you forgot your user ID, it's going to ask you to enter your email, and it will email you your user ID. If you forgot your password, it's going to ask you some security questions to unlock it. So use those tools first to try to, self-service and get your passwords unlocked or your account. So for now, I'm going to enter my existing user ID and my password, and just simply hit login. And I should be logging in. Did we freeze here? Oh, I see. There we go. Okay, so when you first log in for your renewal, you will see this information in front of you. And this is where you're going to verify. This will be filled in with your information, and you're going to want to verify that information. Oh, wait, why is it bringing you in for new registration? Hold on. Sorry. Not finding me. I think when it froze, it booted me out. Okay, so you'll get this message, and it's going to ask you to verify your information. So we had a lot of questions on if I want to change my my address, other demographic information. You can do that right here from this screen. Once you once you verify this information, you can't change it again. So once you get into the renewal, you should do this first. We have some questions about once I'm in the renewal, can I go back and change it? So this is just like you filled in the application. You're saying, yes, this is me. This is my current information. It's going to take you to the next step. So you're going to look over this, make sure it's your information. Right here, it'll show you your password information that you've hit that requirement. We have a lot of questions on passwords. You're going to want to read the disclaimers and the other things to show that you agree. Now, if you have no changes or save changes here at the bottom of the screen, you're going to pick which one. I didn't have any changes. And this is going to bring up your dashboard. And again, when you first get in, it gives you a couple tips. So if you want to change your address, email, PALS account, where to apply for a new license, it's going to show you where that button is, and how to understand the activity. So how to know if you've submitted an application, saved it, or what have you. So that kind of gives you a little overview of some frequently looked for items. So you're just going to close that once you've read those tips. And again, you're just going to double check that all this information is you. And right here, it'll have what licenses you already have. So for this, I am a medical physician and surgeon, surprise. And it has two options for me there. I can either renew it or inactivate it at this point. If you want to apply for a duplicate wall license, any of those other things, you can do it here. But again, the blue renew button is what you want to focus on. So I'm going to click renew. And this is going to take you through the Department of Health survey. So we have a lot of questions on the Department of Health survey, and I'm just going to put in any answers. So this survey we do in conjunction with the Department of Health, and the information used for this does not impact your renewal at all. So what this information is separate. You can put, this doesn't have any bearing on your renewal. Yes, you do have to complete it. They use it for demographic information to apply for grants and for other information, workforce development. So it's helpful for the profession, but again, it doesn't influence your renewal. And I'm just picking anything so we can get through this quickly. Oops. Right. It's a lot of questions, and we are working with Penn State. Actually, they have a grant with the Department of Health to make this a more efficient survey. So just stay tuned. We're hoping to get help to get this minimized, so that they're getting the data that they need, but also to be very mindful of your time. Sorry, everyone. Just clicking through. This is just asking for some time. I can't get to the bottom here. I can't. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Sure. There we go. Okay, and then that once you're through the survey, then you're going to start the renewal process. So you just want to hit next here, and it's going to bring up the renewal questions. Just give me a second here while this loads. So if you're not quite sure, someone had to raise their hand. Okay. If you're not quite sure what you need, right here you can click, and it was going to bring up everything that you need to know. So it'll have the application that you're going to complete. Obviously, you're going to do that, the renewal fee, and the information about your child abuse continuing education, what that needs to be. So there's one place where you can find out what you need. You can print this, or you can email it to yourself. Also, here in the application instructions, if you click on the little I, it's going to tell you the same thing. what you need. So, you know, we have a lot of questions about, I'm not exactly sure what those questions are asking for or what information I need. For renewal, a common question we get is, do I have to upload any documents? And we'll go over that after. There's some scenarios where you have to upload documents, but for the most part, you should not have to upload documents for renewal. It's only if you hit certain situations. So again, here's my information, and I can't edit at this point. It's not letting me because I've committed in the past screens to saying, yes, this is me, and yes, this is my information. And then you're going to go through and you're going to answer these questions. So, you know, I'm not submitting a name change. One thing I want to show you is that if you answer yes to certain questions, the system will prompt you to upload documents. So if I say yes, you know, I had disciplinary action taken against me in another state, it's going to ask you to upload an explanation or legal documents or whatever you have. So just be, you know, cognizant of that. If you're not quite sure, if you think you maybe clicked on something wrong, that could be a telltale sign. So you're going to go through again. A lot of these are, you know, criminal charges. Have you ever had any disciplinary action taken against you? And here's where you can also put if you're going to be active retired. Let me just click through these. Again, these are a lot of questions about disciplinary action or legal circumstances. And again, it's self-reported. Now you can be audited because a lot of people ask, why don't I have to submit documentation on my child abuse or continuing education? We are taking you at your word, but you can always be audited by the board. So if there's an issue or they think that maybe you did not complete it or we get a complaint, you can be audited. So just be aware of that.
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment, Ashley. If you have questions, if you could please save those to the end. We probably are going to run over our typical half hour. We welcome you to stay with us as we go through the program and the questions. We will also include the questions in our frequently asked questions on our website, and we will follow up by email. So if you do have to jump off for something else, we will have that information online.
This question here is one about continuing education for the opioids right here. And again, that's one that you're going to click yes, but it doesn't prompt you to upload anything. So again, the system is intuitive, so it will ask you for what it needs. It's not going to have you say yes, and then you won't have to upload anything. We also get a lot of questions about registering with the PDMP, the Prescription Drug Monitoring Program. It's our understanding that all physicians should register with the PDMP. That's through the Department of Health. And again, that program's run through Health, so we work in conjunction with them. If you have questions about that, there's a lot of information on their website about it. But again, that's another one. And even if you hit no to that question, it's my understanding that that will not hold up your renewal. But again, you know, there could be disciplinary action if you are someone that should have registered and you don't. So we're not going to go active retired. You want to say yes, that you have medical insurance in Pennsylvania. That's another question that we get a lot. So if you hit no and say, look, I have a Pennsylvania license, but I'm not currently practicing in Pennsylvania, you can do a document that says that and attach it here. So a lot of people say, I don't have insurance, like I said, because I'm not practicing. That's where you would just write out an explanation. I maintain my Pennsylvania license, but I currently work in Ohio. So the board will see that and will say, okay, makes sense. And they'll be able to process your renewal. And here's the question about continuing education, probably one of our most popular questions. Like I said, you should retain copies of any continuing education certificates that you have because you can be audited. However, they're not asked to upload them in a renewal. I'm going to say yes. And there's another verification statement, just saying that you understand the information that you're disclosing and how it could be used. I'm going to type my name, demo. The delegate functionality is new, and I'll be honest, we are still working this out, but let's say you work for a practice and you want them to be able to track your renewal status as well. We get a lot of people who have, you know, an office manager or an administrator or someone who helps them. You can enter their email here and their name, and they'll be able to see the progress of your application, maybe not all of the details of it because there is confidentiality, but they will be able to get information. So if you're interested in that function. So once I've done all this, we get a lot of questions. You can either click the green save button. Let's say you're not quite sure on an answer. You can always click save and then log back in and come back in and finish it. Or you can just hit continue. And now I'm going to be prompted by the system to look over my application one more time, just to make sure that I answered all the questions I meant to do in the way I wanted to. So it's going to bring up the same form again, same questions. Again, reading over it, saying, okay, yes, I said I did complete this. I did, you know, gives you another chance before you submit it. And then you're going to click on add to cart. Okay, so this is going to add it to my cart. If I want to go back, if I want to do more than one license at a time and pay for them all at one time, I can go back to my dashboard and go through that one as well and keep adding things to my cart. If this is the only license I am renewing, it's going to say here, you have to check this box. Sometimes people say they can't, it doesn't come up for an option to pay. You have to click this box, which says all fees are non-refundable. And that is a policy that we stick by. So again, just make sure that you're reviewing everything you're saying is right. This is the right license that you want to renew. And then you're going to have the option to proceed to payment. Let's say you get to the end here and you realize this is not the license you wanted to renew. You can always empty cart. It will get rid of that application. You can go back in and do the right one. But if saying everything is what it should be, you can proceed to payment. Oh, sorry, I forgot to click this. I'm going to pick which one I want to pay for. Gives you your total up there in the right corner. And I have a fake number here we're going to pay for it. So you can see the confirmation screen. So I'm just going to enter my information. See, hopefully I put enough numbers in there. And just bear with me while I type here. And you can enter your email and then you'll get your receipt in your email because we have people who call in and say, I'm not sure that it went through. So that's one good tool to see that everything went through.
Do you have people saying that it's going to junk mail or spam mail, or is it?
Sometimes, yeah, because it comes from a resource account. So it'll be ra.st.pa.gov. So check your other mailboxes just in case it did get filtered by your junk mail screening. Okay, and there you go. It says thank you for your payment and confirmation. So that was successful. And here I can see the status. So child abuse is sent in directly from the provider. So that is one that we will get from your provider. So as they come in, I think it's University of Pittsburgh, you say, I want to send it to the board. So once you've completed it, they will send it and we will match it to your application, and PA Med Society as well. So again, once you go in, you click that you want to send to the board and it'll match up. That's something that you don't have to handle. Okay. Again, here's another place that you could send your payment receipt. So if you're working for a practice and you want to let them know, hey, I submitted my renewal, you can put in your office manager, administrator, whomever, and they can get this as well. So on next steps here. Oh, and here it tells you your pending list, not received. And I think that we're looking at a language change for not received because people panic and start calling their providers. And we want to change that to a different status because it's just a matter of the system matching it up. So sometimes we have it, it's just until it gets through the ether of the internet and they connect. So that is one that we are aware of that causes issues. From here, you can go back to your dashboard. And if you have other licenses to renew, other information that you need to see, here's where you would see it. So that is a renewal. And then I am going to go into a PowerPoint where I go over some frequently asked questions that have been sent in to the Med Society, which they passed on to us. and some responses. So hopefully if you have questions, they're answered here. Two things I want to point out on the initial website at pals.pa.gov is the support tab and the application checklist. So these are two very helpful areas that are built onto the website to help answer frequently asked questions. So this is what the support tab looks like. You can click on any of these tiles and let's say, you know, it says, I forgot my password under registration. It will tell you what to do to reset your password. So I recommend looking here if you're stumped on something because a lot of times the answers are right here. The application checklist, these are helpful for initial applications. You can go and pick, I'm sorry, this is a little blurry, but you pick which board or commission you're under, what kind of license you're applying for, and when you go through, it will give you what documents and what you need to apply for that license. Okay, so these are questions that we received, and I worked with the board to get answers. So if you answer a question incorrectly, are you able to go back and update it? So at any time before you submit payment, you can make changes. Even if you save it, you can go back and change it. And you can see the status of your application on your dashboard. It'll say saved, submitted, and what have you. If you receive an error message, so let's say these are mostly for initial applications, but if I said I graduated medical school in 2025, but I'm applying for a license now, the system is going to catch that at the bottom and say, that's not possible. You can't be applying for a license right now. So once you've submitted an application, you cannot make changes because these are considered legal documents. So we can't have people going back in and changing them while the board's trying to approve them because that could cause issues and timing. Again, and just make sure your answers are correct. There's a couple places where you can review before you add it to your cart. So here's where you can see the status of your application. Right here it says save. This was one that I had not finished. And when you want to go back in and continue, you just click on the description. It's a link and it will take you back into the application. This is something that we saw when I went through. It says review your application. You cannot make changes. And after reviewing it, you should hit add to cart to move on to the next thing. And this is again where you have to agree that all the fees are non-refundable and it will generate that process payment button. And this is the credit card thing, which again, just making sure everyone realizes fees are non-refundable. And this is the email that I got after I submitted it, showing, you know, my receipt and that I had submitted an application. So you should see these after you submit successfully applications.
And how quickly is that immediate?
Mine came within 5 minutes.
Okay. I know that's a common question. How do I know?
And you can always log back in and it should tell you submitted as well on that status. So how will you know if you made a mistake? So you will get discrepancy notices. Most applicants only get discrepancy notices through email, but some applications are still in paper. So usually if it's a paper application, you'll get a paper notice in the mail. But most part, you'll get it via email. So just keep an eye out and it will tell you if there was a mistake. And these are mostly for initial applications, but I wanted to put it on there so that people were aware. Two places where you can look for information. There is important messages is the top arrow, and then there's also correspondence down there. So this will give you updates on what correspondence we've received either on your behalf or we've sent to you. So, you know, let's say your email is filtering things out into junk, you can always log back into PALS and see what was sent to you. This is a copy of a discrepancy notice, and I wanted people to see what this would look like. So this is the checklist, the same checklist that we saw before, and it gives you the reason. So for example, this person said they had a license in New York, but they didn't say what license it was. So that generates discrepancy. Again, these are mostly for, this one's from an initial application, but just to kind of give you an idea of what kind of documents people are looking at.
And do they see that, is the discrepancies, is that immediate as well, that they'll see those?
It depends on what it is. So for example, the child abuse, I think a lot of people receive that discrepancy right away. because the system is matching. So again, we are working on how should that notification go out. Other ones, because these are all reviewed, every application is reviewed by a human being. So it could take some time depending on what our processing times are.
Okay.
What should you do if you made a mistake? You should upload information or a statement whenever possible. So as long as you can go back in and say, you know, I uploaded the wrong thing, or I said no and I should have said yes, try to upload it through PALS first. And if not, here's the contact information for the board, including an email address at the bottom. That's their resource account. And that is checked pretty regularly. I mean, we get hundreds of emails, so just asking for patience on that, but you can send things in through there and say, you know, my application number was this, and I said no, and here's a document saying I should have said yes, or what have you. So questions regarding the screen going blank or no option to continue. So one thing could be you're having a browser issue. Another thing that we found is sometimes people are missing information and the screen is held because there's an error message at the bottom and people didn't realize it. If it's our website, and sometimes it is, I'm not going to say it isn't, you can submit help desk tickets. There's a place where you can get help and report issues to us, and we have a staff that are screening through those tickets to say, oh, we're getting a lot of people who are saying their payments aren't processing. We must have a glitch. And also, let me just toggle back through here. The message is, sometimes our website is undergoing maintenance. We're always working to enhance this and also add different applications for, we have 29 boards, we have hundreds of license types. So as we're putting more of these into PALS, we do sometimes have to take the system down for maintenance and uploads. So as we're doing that, we're posting on the website, you know, this will be down. So there are some issues that you may see. A question we got was, were the renewals mailed or emailed, and what date? And I broke these down by the osteo board and the medical board. And these are ones that expired October 31st, ones that will expire on December 31st, and when those notices were emailed or mailed. So I won't go over all of this, but just to make sure that you're aware of your expiration date. And this is the medical, and they have one expiration date for all their licenses, December 31st, and when the paper notices were mailed and when the emails were sent. So people who have questions about changing their password, like I showed you before, you can go to that support tab. And you can go to that support tab, and there's steps through there. You can also visit pals.pa.gov/recover, or when you're logging in, right here is this helpful little box that if you're having issue changing password, you can use that. And once again, I just wanted to highlight this support tab for the frequently asked questions. This is the screen that will come up when you reset your password. You'll have to know your user ID, either your social security number or the email address where you want the instructions sent. These are just password requirements. I just put this on here so people have it. This is a pretty standard password requirement for government. I mean, this is what Amazon, Comcast use. So it's a little tricky, but it is the standard for what you need. So here was the question about uploading documents for license renewal. If you answer yes to any of those legal questions, you would be required to upload. So, you know, one of them is, do you have charges pending against you in a different state? You're going to have to explain what's going on. And the one about the insurance question, that was the one that I had talked about before. You know, if you say, yes, I have a Pennsylvania license, I'm practicing in Ohio, I don't have Pennsylvania insurance, that's where that would come into play. If you answer no to completing the opioid continuing education and do not have an active DEA license, is there further explanation? So no, there's no further explanation required. They're exempt because you do not have a registration number and you do not prescribe or dispense using someone else's registration number. So there's two scenarios there just to make sure you don't fall under either one. And this is on the renewal as you're going through. If you answer no to 2 hours of opioid CBE, then you'll get this question about the DEA registration number. And if you answer yes, then you're required to complete the opioid CME. So kind of it's a little loose there, but it's just make sure that you're taking the classes that you need to have your license. And this is just spelled out in a different way, the same thing that we just talked about. And here's where if you make a mistake, upload in that question, you should upload a statement and say, I meant to say yes. And I accidentally said no to one or the other.